Right now on Morning News Now, Israel storming Gaza's main hospital again for the second time in 2 days. This after Israeli officials claim they discovered a tunnel underneath hospital grounds, as well as AK-47s, hand grenades, and a photo of a kidnapped Israeli soldier inside. And grim new developments on the hostage situation in Gaza. We'll bring you the latest. Also this morning, embattled Congressman George Santos facing the fallout after a damning ethics report.
I think I said this very clear to you. I will take whatever comes my way the way it comes.
More on what the House Ethics Committee calls substantial evidence that Santos broke the law, including misuse of campaign funds and the growing calls for him to resign. Plus, trouble on the tarmac, why an outdated aviation system could leave travelers with little to be thankful for this holiday season. And more women making the decision to delay motherhood and freeze their eggs. But the process comes at a cost. We're not just talking about the money. What some women wish they'd known before they had gone through it. Important conversation, one that makes it easier for everyone if we talk about it.
Definitely. Good to have you with us on this Friday. Not just any Friday, but next week's a shorter week, so it's even more to celebrate as we head into the weekend.
And then everyone will agree with me. It's Christmas time by next week.
Exactly. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Saj. We're going to begin this morning with the dire warnings from international organizations over the worsening conditions inside Gaza. The United Nations says Gazans are facing, quote, an immediate possibility of starvation.
The World Food Program says only 10% of the necessary food supplies needed in the region have entered through the Rafah border since the war began. Food production in northern Gaza has come to a halt because of the lack of fuel. That shortage has also created a total communications blackout, which is slowing down aid deliveries. It's making it hard to communicate where deliveries should be made and when. This all comes as Israeli forces continue to carry out their targeted operation against Al-Shifa Hospital. Officials say they've recovered the bodies of 2 hostages near the hospital, 19-year-old Noah Marciano and 65-year-old Yehudit Weiss. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. Aaron, good morning. Let's start right there with those 2 hostages recovered by Israeli forces. How were they located? Where were they found? And how does this impact negotiations for the release of the remaining hostages?
Well, Joe, overnight, the Israeli military announced that it had recovered the body of 19-year-old Corporal Noah Marciano. They had confirmed her death earlier in the week, originally announced by Hamas. They're saying they recovered her body from a building near the Al-Shifa hospital complex. Her remains have been brought to Israel and returned to her family. Now, it's unclear if her body was found in the same building as 64-year-old Yehudit Weiss. Yehudit Weiss is an Israeli hostage. She was kidnapped on October 7th from Kibbutz Be'eri when Hamas militants stormed her kibbutz, killing her husband and kidnapping her. She'd just been diagnosed with breast cancer and was due to receive radiation treatment. Then this week, the Israeli military confirming that her remains had been recovered in a building near the Al-Shifa hospital complex, along with weapons, RPGs, as well as guns. Now, news of their deaths are likely to place even more pressure on these ongoing hostage negotiations. They've been going on for weeks now, with the president of the United States saying he's mildly optimistic about the outcome of those negotiations. Joe.
Aaron, meanwhile, the UN human rights chief called on Israel to grant his team access to Gaza to investigate these competing claims about the Al-Shifa hospital yesterday. Let's listen to a little bit of what he said about the deaths at Gaza's largest hospital.
Never in my career, working in many crisis situations around the world, have I met such an outpouring of fear, anger, and despair. The killing of so many civilians cannot be dismissed as collateral damage, not in a kibbutz, not in a refugee camp, and not in a hospital.
So this comes after Israel released a photo alleging they found an operational tunnel shaft at Al-Shifa. What more are we learning about the situation at the hospital this morning? Are Israeli forces close to ending what they're calling this targeted operation on Al-Shifa?
Well, it's unclear. It's difficult to paint a picture of exactly what's happening at the hospital complex, given this network-wide mobile phone outage striking the Gaza Strip after the main mobile phone provider, network provider there in Gaza, said that it has a fuel shortage. It ran out of fuel to power its backup generators. It's very difficult to reach anyone that we've been in contact with inside the Al-Shifa complex. What we know is that the Israeli military says they raided the complex for a second day yesterday, uncovering that tunnel shaft as well as a vehicle full of weapons. On Wednesday, I had spoken with the head of the hospital's burn unit. He painted just this desperate and dire humanitarian situation. He described his 600 patients were dying at a much higher rate. They lacked food, water, electricity, as well as oxygen. And it's unclear when the hospital is going to be evacuated. The WHO this morning releasing a statement saying the WHO and partners are exploring the possibility of evacuation of patients, health workers, and IDPs besieged at Al-Shifa Hospital. Safe passage and fuel for the Palestinian Red Crescent ambulances are needed to ensure the evacuation can be carried out. And it seems as though the Israeli military is continuing to try and build its case that there is a Hamas terror cell located underneath the hospital. But it seems that they have found no smoking gun just yet, guys.
All right, Aaron McLaughlin in Tel Aviv. Aaron, thank you.
Thank you. Well, the U.S. is facing a growing call to support a ceasefire in Gaza as officials continue to negotiate extended humanitarian pauses. Secretary Antony Blinken sat down with nightly news anchor Lester Holt to discuss the ongoing bombardments and the latest from the Al-Shifa hospital.
Secretary Blinken, if I can ask you about the war in Gaza. Israel is showing video of weapons it says were recovered at the Al-Shifa hospital, video of what may be a tunnel, but it's clear that the evidence doesn't necessarily point to a Hamas command and control center, as Israel and the U.S. have maintained. What's happening there?
Two things. One, exactly why there should be assault rifles located next to an MRI machine escapes me. And this is compelling evidence of the fact that Hamas embeds itself in civilian infrastructure of one kind or another. We have our own information that command and control nodes are located either in or under hospitals. There's several of them. And this is something that's really monstrous in what Hamas has done to try to embed itself among civilians.
But based on what you've seen, does it warrant the bombardment that we've seen, the level of bombardment against the hospitals?
Well, these are what's going on now are ground operations, not bombardments. And as I've said before, we have seen far too many Palestinian civilians killed. And we have been urging Israel all along to do everything possible to minimize civilian casualties. They've opened up corridors so that people can get out of harm's way. They've been bringing supplies into the hospitals as they've tried very deliberately to clear them of any Hamas fighters. And all of this is incredibly hard.
What is your level of confidence that we could see more hostages released soon?
We're working this intensively, and we have been for weeks. I remain hopeful, but the less said, the better.
Secretary Blinken, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
And our thanks to Lester Holt for that interview.
Now to the economic toll that the Israel-Hamas war is taking on the region. In Israel, there's been a shift in how many young workers are available as the nation rapidly mobilizes its military. That is leading credit rating agency S&P to predict that the country's economy will shrink 5% in the last quarter of this year. NBC's Josh Letterman shows us how those economic woes will be felt both in Israel and in Gaza.
It takes about 100 workers to sow the fields and harvest the crops at Chavivian Organic Farm in southern Israel. On October 7th, the day Hamas attacked, much of the workforce disappeared.
First to leave were, of course, the Palestinian workers and the workers from Gaza. They just vanished one day. They're not here.
Then foreign workers from Asia and Africa. Some of them stayed, but many went home after Hamas killed dozens of Thai workers on October 7th and took others hostage. These days, when Michal wakes up, she doesn't know how many workers will show up that day. Many farms are now relying largely on volunteers.
Are there farms here in Israel that may go out of business because of this war?
many farms.
Here in the fields just 10 miles from Gaza, as these workers are working the crops, rockets coming from the Gaza Strip being intercepted by the Iron Dome. This is what it's like right now to be working in Israel's economy in the middle of war. Since the war started, Israel has called up more than 350,000 reservists and evacuated hundreds of thousands of others from homes near Gaza and Lebanon. Together, that's 18% of the workforce off the job, Israel's Labor Department says. Still, the economic blow pales in comparison to Gaza, where the UN says 6 in 10 jobs have been lost during the war, and at least 45% of homes damaged, adding to an already sky-high poverty rate. In Israel, the military call-up has emptied young, educated workers out of Israel's famed tech sector, says Don Ben-David, an economist at Tel Aviv University.
Israel is highly dependent on high tech. It's only about 10% of the workforce, but that 10% accounts for half of our exports.
Are there comparisons between Israel's wartime economy and what we saw during COVID?
Oh, yeah. The fact that missiles are raining down all over the place means that you don't really venture out if you don't have to.
In other words, people are spending less. Israel's Statistics Bureau says half of businesses have lost at least 50% of their income. At this restaurant in the commuter town of Modi'in, it is far from business as usual. It's a very somber atmosphere, she says. Customers come in head down. No one smiles. People are sad, worried. Naama's cafe closed after the terror attacks for nearly a month and only recently reopened. But it's been a struggle. Staff are in short supply, ingredients are hard to come by, and so are the customers. We went through a tough experience, she says. If this war continues, I don't know how much longer our business will survive. Israel's central bank says this war is costing more than $500 million per week, which in a country this size is a massive amount. But the real question now is, how much longer will this war last?
Josh Letterman, thank you so much for that report.
Well, not in California, where the man who attacked Paul Pelosi is awaiting his sentencing. Yesterday, a federal jury delivered a unanimous verdict finding David DePape guilty on federal assault and attempted kidnapping charges. It came at the end of a 4-day trial. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson is in San Francisco with the details.
What's going on, man?
A guilty verdict for the man accused of breaking into the home of Nancy Pelosi and assaulting her husband with a hammer.
What is going on right now?
After just 8 hours of deliberation, the jury unanimously found David DePape guilty on both federal charges.
What this guilty verdict on all counts sends is a clear message that regardless of what your beliefs are, what you cannot do is physically attack a member of Congress or their immediate family.
During the trial, prosecutors painted DePape as a man warped by conspiracy theories like QAnon and Pizzagate. His public defender agreed, but argued he was not guilty because the attack was wholly unrelated to Nancy Pelosi's official duties. When 83-year-old Paul Pelosi took the stand, he recounted the horror of last October's home invasion, saying after the attack, he remembers waking up in a pool of blood. In a shocking move, the defense countered by calling DePape to the stand, arguing he's a man so radicalized by disinformation. DePape says the Pelosi home was just one stop on a long hit list, and attacking Pelosi was a desperate act as police arrived, adding Paul was never a target. But the federal jury disagreed, and DePape, who is a Canadian citizen, faces up to 50 years behind bars.
DePape also faces state charges, including attempted murder, burglary, and false imprisonment. Proceedings for that case expected to be underway at the end of the month.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. The special counsel appointed to investigate President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents has interviewed his son, Hunter Biden, according to a source familiar with the matter. The investigation is looking at how President Biden ended up with classified documents in his Wilmington, Delaware home. Hunter Biden listed that address on his driver's license at the time the documents were stored there. The special prosecutor is expected to deliver a report with his findings at the conclusion of his investigation, which is now in its 11th month. Spokespeople for both the Justice Department and the White House have declined requests for comments.
Well, embattled New York Congressman George Santos says he won't seek re-election next year after the release of a damning report by the House Ethics Committee.
The report concluded that there were, quote, substantial evidence that Santos violated federal criminal laws, including the use of campaign funds for personal expenses.
NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us on this now. Hey, Julie, good morning. So this was the scathing report by the Ethics Committee. Tell us more about the findings in this and what they say Santos was spending campaign money on.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. Well, the Ethics Committee certainly brought receipts. They allege that Santos spent thousands of dollars on designer goods. That includes $6,000 at Ferragamo, more at Hermes. He spent money on Botox, on OnlyFans, at Sephora. Essentially, they said that he, quote, exploited the House candidacy for personal profit at nearly every turn. He even moved hundreds of thousands of dollars from a consulting firm that he actually was affiliated with to his personal bank accounts. Now, all of that said, the ethics panel is all but recommending that Santos be expelled from Congress. The reason they didn't include that in the report, the chair of the ethics panel, Michael Guest, told us was because it would take months, additional months before the report could be released. But really just in this scathing 56-page report, the committee had found that Santos essentially profited on his House candidacy and discredited the House as an institution.
So, Julie, how is Santos reacting to the report? And looking ahead, could we now see this renewed effort to expel him from the House, perhaps very quickly?
Certainly. You already see dual efforts. There's one that could be introduced this morning by the chairman of the ethics panel. For Santos's part, he really is doing an about-face here. He said yesterday after the release of this report that he would actually not be seeking re-election. That's certainly a change from what we've been hearing from him even after he was indicted last month. He still said he planned on staying in this seat, running for it once again in this competitive district. Now his colleagues might kick him out of Congress regardless of that fact. There is frustration, there is anger, certainly not only from his New York Republican colleagues, but even Speaker Johnson's office releasing a statement yesterday, all but allowing members to vote as they please. When you'll just remember 2 weeks ago, you had the initial vote to expel Santos. A lot of members voted against that, in part because they wanted him to have his due process. Now, since the release of this report, we've already seen dozens of members, Democrats and Republicans, say they will vote to expel Santos. The question is when, not if.
Julie, we know you'll stay on this for us. Obviously, there's a lot to continue to unpack there. But quickly, I do want to switch gears to the fact that the president signed that stopgap funding bill yesterday. It officially averted a government shutdown. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well ahead of the deadline tonight, guys. When have we seen this happen in Congress in the past few years? Look, this will set up certainly a fight when Congress is back after the Thanksgiving break. They have a lot to pass, including aid for Ukraine, Israel, the border, the Indo-Pacific region as well. But also, when you look at how this measure was staggered, they'll have two funding cliffs, meaning one in mid-January when they run out of, some agencies run out of money, another one February 2nd when those agencies run out of money. So essentially, Congress is just punching the can down the road. They're really just saving the hardest assignment for later. So we're certainly going to see more of these spending fights in the future. Unfortunately, to our audience, who I'm sure is getting tired of this conversation, and many Americans who certainly don't want to be toyed with.
All right, Julie Surkin, as always, thank you.
From coast to coast, some soggy weather could rain on your parade this weekend. So let's get a closer look at your morning news now forecast.
That's right. Michelle Grossman is with us this Friday. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Happy Friday. And yeah, we have some soggy spots on this Friday. And we're going to have some soggy spots into Thanksgiving week that could impact some travel. So first, we're looking at radar, and we're seeing some rain falling throughout the Ohio Valley. It's a cold front that is stretching from the Great Lakes all the way down to the lower Mississippi Valley. So along that front, we're going to see some rain. We're going to see some wind as well. It's going to drop some temperatures. So that's for the Ohio Valley into the interior parts of the Northeast, also the Tennessee Valley, lower Mississippi Valley. And then back to the west, we're watching a powerful storm system. It's that atmospheric river that continues to move on shore, and we're going to see some rain, some mountain snow in the west, not only today but also tomorrow. Then that storm system is going to make its way across country, and that's going to impact our Thanksgiving week. But first, unsettled East Coast, you notice two things on this map. We have that cold front, that's the blue line, and that area of low pressure. The cold front's going to sweep the area of low pressure out. That's good news. That's what brought all the rain to Florida. We're still seeing some lingering showers in the northern part of Florida, the eastern part of Florida, but that's going to dissipate throughout the day as that cold front pushes it out. We're also seeing some lingering showers along the Carolina coast, but it's really this cold front that's going to bring the wet weather into parts of the interior Northeast, and it's going to change the weather in the mid-Atlantic states and Northeast by tomorrow. We're warm today, and then we're going to be seeing temperatures drop throughout the day tomorrow. The winds are going to pick up, and then we're really chilly on Sunday. So this is Saturday. Notice that most of that cold front is off the coast at the later Saturday, but we're going to see some lingering showers, some higher mountain snow in portions of Maine on Saturday. It's going to be windy too. Temperatures are going to drop, so we're not talking about a whole lot of rain, but still could see an inch in some spots. You noticed on radar earlier we saw some brighter colors, and that's indicating where that heavier rain is falling. So airport impacts for today. I know some people are lucky enough to be making their Thanksgiving travel now. We're going to see some possible impacts in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Nashville, the West Coast. We're going to see it in San Francisco, Las Vegas, and also Los Angeles. And that's because we're watching that area of low pressure in the West Coast. It's a big one, and it's bringing big impacts, especially along the coast and also the mountains of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So showers continue to rotate into California. That will be the case as we go throughout tomorrow as well, guys. We're going to see some wet weather in the Pacific Northwest, and then we're going to watch this move across the country next week, and that's going to cause some problems in terms of travel. So we'll talk more about that next hour. Back to you.
Yeah, I think we'll talk a lot about it next week, too. All right, Michelle.
Hopefully not too much of a problem. Thank you.
Much more to come here on this hour of Morning News Now. Later, allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The new lawsuit just filed by his former girlfriend, singer Cassie, and why she says she's ready to tell her story after years of silence.
Up first, though, after the break, it's being called the Red Cup Rebellion, how a one-day strike involving thousands of Starbucks workers is energizing a bigger labor movement against the coffee giant. We will be right back. We are back with a look at staffing issues that are hitting airports hard at the start of the busy holiday travel season. After a string of close calls on runways, industry experts are calling for more air traffic control crews, and they say a total overhaul of aging technology is needed. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa has more on this.
Just as the holiday travel season is taking off, new signs that the nation's aviation system is facing mounting stress.
The margins of safety are under a lot of pressure.
Former FAA Administrator Michael Huerta among the industry experts this week, identifying issues that must be urgently addressed in a 52-page report, calling for overhauling aging technology, securing more funding protected from government shutdowns, and ramping up ATC staffing amid historically high levels of overtime. Even the FAA's goal of hiring 1,800 controllers this year won't significantly move the needle, Huerta says.
Staffing leads to a lot of overtime. A lot of overtime leads to a lot of fatigue. And that's why it's important to get at this underlying structural issue.
The panel was formed as part of the FAA's response to a flurry of serious close calls at airports, 23 in the past year. In a statement, the current FAA administrator said, "We appreciate the team's time and expertise to help us pursue our goal of 0 serious close calls." Meanwhile, at airports, a holiday rush already underway. The TSA expects to screen 30 million passengers over the next 12 days. And further fueling concerns, next week's stormy weather forecast that could wreak havoc for millions in the eastern half of the country.
You will have delays, especially in the middle of the country on Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, all for the East Coast.
As families hope to steer clear of a travel nightmare. And if you can, try to book a direct flight and one that leaves earlier in the day to avoid travel hiccups. And remember, you'll be in good company. The TSA is bracing for a record 2.9 million people to pass through their checkpoints on the Sunday after Thanksgiving alone.
Oh, that's lovely. Emily, thank you so much.
It's the Sunday that always gets you. All right,
Yeah.
Thousands of Starbucks workers are back at work this morning after walking off the job yesterday in what they called a Red Cup Rebellion. It's just the latest call to action in their ongoing 2-year battle with the company over unionization.
The one-day strike took place in an effort to protest what workers say is Starbucks' bargaining practices and their scheduling and staffing, especially on days with consumer discounts and giveaways. Like yesterday's Red Cup Day. That's an annual promotion where customers can get a reusable Red Cup if they order a holiday drink.
Joining us now to discuss is Josh Idelson. He's a labor reporter for Bloomberg News and Business Week. Josh, good to have you with us. So Starbucks has seen this labor wave, really, you could say, over the last couple of years with more than 360 stores in 41 states voting to create unions. That's since late 2021. What were the workers hoping to get out of this walkout yesterday?
So the context here is that it's been almost 2 years since that first landmark win in Buffalo, New York. This has been one of the more stunning organizing successes in modern U.S. history, that Starbucks has gone from having no corporate-owned unionized stores in the U.S. to hundreds. But in those almost 2 years, none of those stores that organized with Starbucks Workers United has come close to actually negotiating a collective bargaining agreement with the company, and the pace of the union's growth has slowed. The union argues that Starbucks is responsible for that lack of progress, that the company is refusing to fairly negotiate, And the National Labor Relations Board's prosecutors have accused the company of refusing to negotiate fairly with the union, as well as illegally retaliating, firing activists, shutting down stores. The company has denied wrongdoing and is fighting those allegations. And the process for the Labor Board cases to be investigated and appealed can drag on for years and has relatively little serious penalty potentially for the company in general. There's no punitive damages. There's no liability for executives at the company. And so the union has been trying to find ways to keep pressure on Starbucks and force the company to change its behavior. So that's included outreach to politicians. We saw Howard Schultz called before the Senate to discuss the company's actions. It's included outreach to students on campuses where Starbucks has contracts. We saw Cornell, in response to student activists, say it would not continue its contract with Starbucks. And we see walkouts like the strike, which the union says was the largest one in the company's history.
And Josh, quickly tell us on the other side of this, how Starbucks is responding to this strike and any plans that they have to work with employees here.
Starbucks has said that the impact was minimal in terms of the effect on customers, in terms of the number of workers participating. And Starbucks has argued that the union is the one that's not fairly negotiating, including by insisting on workers being able to participate via video conference in the negotiations. Starbucks says it complies with labor law.
All right, Josh Idelson, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get you some international headlines now, starting with a landmark nuclear deal between the United States and the Philippines.
NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other world news. Claudio, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. That's right. This nuclear cooperation pact will allow Washington to export nuclear technology to Manila, and in turn, it will help the Philippines to transition to cleaner energy. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken signed a major deal at the APEC conference currently going on now in San Francisco. Now, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who witnessed the groundbreaking signing, said, quote, "We see nuclear energy becoming a part of the Philippines' energy mix by 2032. Now let's fly over to Spain, where Pedro Sanchez was just re-elected as prime minister. The socialist leader was backed by 179 lawmakers, but not everyone is happy. Protests have been erupting across Spain over Sanchez's controversial amnesty deal with the Catalan separatists. The newly elected prime minister promised to offer amnesty to secessionists in exchange for political support. Now, political pundits expect that Sanchez's new term, much like his campaign efforts, could come with some turbulence. And we end this short tour of the world with some broken records. We are celebrating Guinness World Records Day. Just yesterday, all of the talented and somewhat strange record holders across the world joined forces to celebrate the 19th annual event. This year's theme was super skills. There were even some records broken on that day. Starting in the UK, one driver broke the record for the tightest gap driven through by a pickup truck on two wheels. Another record breaker in China took home the title for, and get this, the most consecutive single leg full twist back somersaults. The winner racked up 11 consecutive back flips, but now if you manage to say 5 times fast consecutive single leg full twist back somersaults, you will also probably make it in the world Guinness record.
We're going to induct you, Claudio.
Give it a try.
That car thing, I bet he's a good parallel parker.
Yeah, for both of those, I'm just so amazed by. How is that even possible? Wow, you're
incredibly
right.
useful.
I don't know how to parallel park on 4 wheels, so that's good.
Claudio, thank you so much.
Thank you. Coming up, Sean Diddy Combs facing serious allegations made by his former longtime partner, singer Cassie. The disturbing details from a new lawsuit and what the music mogul is saying now.
And it's sentencing day for the woman just convicted in a love triangle turned deadly. We're going to bring you the latest from court next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. This morning, music mogul Sean Combs is facing serious allegations of rape and abuse brought forward by his former partner, Cassie.
The singer filed a lawsuit yesterday in federal court here in New York. She's alleging that Combs raped and physically abused her, including punching, beating, and kicking her over the course of their 10-year relationship. Cassie released a statement yesterday saying, quote, "After years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face face violence and abuse in their relationships.
An attorney representing Combs responded saying, quote, Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos joins us now with more on this. Danny, good morning. So Cassie's lawsuit was brought under the Adult Survivors Act. It's called. The window actually to bring cases under this law ends next week. Explain to us what this is and how this came to be.
Yeah, this is very similar to the Child Victims Act, which preceded it. And really what it does is generally it opens a one-year window that even if your claim has fallen beyond the statute of limitations, even if it's too old, it happened decades ago, you have 1 year. Bring it now or lose it forever, and we'll take it. And by we, I mean the courts will take it. You can file it. The statute of limitations is essentially waived. And then after that year closes, which is coming up in just a few days, then it's right back to the status quo ante. If the statute of limitations has passed, you're out. And having some of these Child Victims Act cases myself, I can tell you that while it's a good thing that these victims are able to file, once filed, you have the monumental task normally of excavating history and finding evidence and witnesses to prove these cases. This case involving Sean P. Diddy Combs may be different because I have to imagine that even over the last few decades, these are people who have been so surrounded by entourage and digital evidence and video cameras and everywhere they go that maybe this is a case where the plaintiff will have evidence.
Let's talk about this case. These are obviously serious allegations. Yeah. What stands out in this lawsuit?
It's interesting. The allegations are based on criminal allegations, but this is a civil lawsuit. And so, for example, the plaintiff's claim that she was abused over and along state lines invokes sex trafficking. And, of course, there are allegations of rape. But, again, these are not criminal charges. This is not an indictment. It is a civil complaint. Always interesting to me when a civil complaint precedes a criminal complaint, even if there may never be one, whether or not law enforcement authorities are looking at this saying, hey, maybe this is something we should look into if the statute has not expired.
Quickly tell us what comes next here.
Not a lot in civil cases. Once it's filed, the next step is effect service. A process server will deliver this to P. Diddy. And after that, then the case moves at snail-like pace along with all the other cases in New York courts, and it will start the discovery process. And eventually down the road, there will be depositions, and that will probably be the most significant next step.
All right, Danny Ceballos, thank you.
A Texas woman who was convicted of killing a pro cyclist could learn her sentence later today. Yesterday, Caitlin Armstrong was convicted of murdering Anna Mariah Wilson last year. It took a jury less than 3 hours to reach that guilty verdict. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has been following this trial. He joins us from outside the courthouse in Austin with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. And an audible sigh of relief from the Wilson side of the courtroom following this verdict, while Caitlin Armstrong's side sat in absolute silence. And over the course of this nearly 2-week trial, her defense did its best to poke holes in some of the scientific evidence presented, like DNA or GPS. But time and time again, prosecutors reminded the jury that nearly every side pointed back to the 35-year-old who never took the stand.
We, the jury, found the defendant, Caitlin Armstrong, guilty of the offense of murder.
In a packed Austin courtroom, the final verdict in a murder mystery that captivated the nation. Caitlin Armstrong silent as a jury convicted her of killing 25-year-old Anna Mariah Wilson. The decision coming just 2 hours after powerful closing statements.
She stood over her after she shot her in the head twice and put another bullet right in her heart.
She fits the story they created, a spurned, jealous lover.
The nearly 2 weeks of testimony telling two very different stories. With no eyewitnesses, state prosecutors linked Armstrong to the crime scene repeatedly. GPS showing her black Jeep circling the block. Shell casings fitting the same caliber of handgun Armstrong owned. And DNA on Wilson's own bicycle. Prosecutors also pointing out Armstrong's 43-day Costa Rican getaway, where they say the former yoga instructor used her sister's passport to flee the country before spending nearly $6,000 to alter her appearance with plastic surgery.
These are all indications of guilt, ladies and gentlemen.
The jury also hearing about an apparent escape attempt while in custody just weeks ago. Cell phone video appearing to show Armstrong running from corrections officers while at a doctor's appointment, leading to additional charges. Connecting both women, Armstrong's longtime on-again, off-again boyfriend, Colin Strickland, a competitive cyclist like Wilson. In testimony, he admitted to changing Wilson's name in his phone and deleting their texts after the two met for dinner and a swim the night she was killed, while stressing his relationship with Wilson was no longer romantic, just friends who both love cycling.
It is all Mariah Wilson-ish.
Known by friends as Mo, Wilson was a rising talent in competitive cycling.
I really put a really hard effort in at the end.
This morning, as friends remember a fierce competitor, her family clinging to memories of a beloved daughter as justice was served. And an emotional moment followed the reading of that verdict when Mariah's own mother took the stand, saying that the joy she felt whenever her daughter was born was matched by the incredible sadness when she realized she was no longer here. Meanwhile, Caitlin Armstrong now faces up to 99 years in prison. Joe?
All right, Morgan, thank you so much. Coming up, it is a personal and often life-changing decision.
More women choosing to delay motherhood by freezing their eggs. When we come back, a candid conversation about the pros and cons of the process and what some women wish they'd known before going through it. This is Morning News Now.
We're back with financial headlines. If you're an iPhone user, that green message bubble headache could soon be over. CNBC's Savannah Henao has details on that and other money headlines. Savannah, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Yep, well, Apple gets the message. The company will adopt a technological standard next year, allowing texting between iPhones and Android devices to run more smoothly. Now, Apple has pushed back on this standard known as RCS for more than a year, even as Google and others pressed it to adopt the technology. Now, RCS allows more text features to be shared over phones on different platforms. Right now, iPhone users know when they're texting another iPhone because the chat bubbles are blue, while Android contacts are the older green style. IBM is pausing ads on X, that's a platform formerly known as Twitter, after a report by Media Matters found the ads were placed next to anti-Semitic content. IBM says it has zero tolerance for hate speech and discrimination. Media Matters also found hate posts paired with ads from Apple and Oracle, as well as Bravo and Xfinity, which are owned by Comcast, the parent of NBC Universal. And this follows the backlash against Elon Musk for comments he made on X supporting anti-Semitic rhetoric. Alexa, buy me a car. Amazon will start selling cars on the site next year in a partnership with Hyundai. Customers will be able to browse vehicles in their area, choose various color and trim options, buy it online, and either pick it up or have it delivered from a local dealer. Hyundai will also start equipping cars with Alexa, although that won't start until 2025, and it's the first time Amazon will offer vehicles for sale, but the company has had partnerships with other car brands. It has an online showroom for customers to browse different brands, and it sells car service and equipment through Amazon Automotive, Joe.
So if that were in place now, Savannah, you would have just bought a lot of
How many cars do you think I just bought? Yeah.
So many cars. All right, thanks, Savannah. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Well, egg freezing, it's a procedure that can potentially help women prolong their window to have a baby or delay having one. It's grown in popularity. In fact, according to the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology, there's been a 46% increase in egg freezing procedures in the United States. That was back from 2020 to 2021. And because of the growing interest, Allure released a project focused on egg freezing. They sat down with 26 women to discuss the ins and outs of the process. Joining us now on this is Jenny Biley. She's the Executive Beauty Director at Allure, and also Dr. Lucky Seacon, a double board certified reproductive endocrinologist and OBGYN at RMA of New York. Good morning to both of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Jenny, I will start with you. This is such an important topic, and I just love the fact that Allure did this and you spoke with 26 women about the egg freezing process, really try to capture how women are really feeling about this, kind of all over the spectrum. I also really liked it. It wasn't just positive, it wasn't just negative. Tell us what they had to say.
Sure. Well, this story was written by Paige Stables, who's one of our senior editors, who herself froze her eggs several years ago after a cancer diagnosis. And she really felt like, as someone who had been through it, as it becomes more mainstream, women just needed more information about what the process is really like. And a common thread that we saw, as you said, that's a wide variety of stories, but a common thread was that a lot of women felt like, despite all the talk and the TikTok videos, they went into the process feeling underinformed, or in some cases, they said they felt misled into thinking it would be easier or more successful or more of a guarantee than it is. I think something we heard again and again in our reporting was an egg is not an embryo, is not a baby. And I think people didn't totally realize that as they started out.
Oh, it's such a good point, and something that I want to ask the doctor about in just a moment. But quickly, Jenny, also, did you hear from women about why we're seeing more and more of them take advantage of this option?
Yes, there were different reasons. Some came to it after a life-changing diagnosis like Paige did, some after a life-changing breakup, some we talked to actually more than one doctor who had really spent their 20s and early 30s in, it's at school, residency, just hadn't had a chance really to start a family. And a lot of it, honestly, is just women who are not finding partners in that kind of peak fertile window. I think I saw a headline recently, why aren't more people getting married, and ask women what it's like dating. So I think that lack of a partner is a big part of it.
Absolutely. Doctor, let's bring you in here to first just talk through the process. I know if you, as Jenny mentioned, see on TikTok and things like that, the different videos and you see the shots and all that kind of stuff. But what is it exactly that's going on and how invasive is it?
Yes. So egg freezing is basically removing the eggs from the ovaries where they sit from the time that you're in your mother's womb. You're born with all the eggs that you're ever going to have. And over time, our bodies lack the ability to generate new eggs or repair them. So they break down and quantity and quality decline with age. So egg freezing is the process by which you take medications that mimic the signal your brain normally sends to the ovaries to mature one egg and ovulate a single egg, but we're trying to mature all of the eggs that are available. Now, a common misconception is that we're depleting your egg count, but we're not. A lot of people don't know this, but a very limited subset of your eggs at any given moment are pulled to the surface of the ovary, and those are the only ones that I can get to. And if I don't get to them and extract them and freeze them, they're just kind of dissolving and going away. So egg freezing is kind of like salvaging whatever eggs we can get to in a given cycle, removing them from this environment where they're exposed to the effects of aging and degradation over time, and freezing them so that you're holding on to a larger cohort of eggs that are healthier from a younger age as a backup plan. If and should you ever run into any fertility issues or need IVF for any reason, you can get a head start and have a much more efficient process starting with a larger number of healthier eggs.
Jenny just mentioned that many women brought up the fact an egg is not an embryo,
Yes.
an embryo is not a baby. So first of all, if we could just kind of break that down in layman's terms. But I think even me, okay, I'm a 32-year-old woman, I don't have kids, I have not done this procedure, I've thought about this a lot. I think even in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years since it's been something that I have thought about, since I've heard a lot about, in the beginning, it felt like it was presented very much as a sure thing, like an insurance policy. You don't know if when you want to have kids, just raise your eggs and then it's all good. But the truth is you might go through this process that is A, expensive, and B, not nothing on your body. And it's ultimately not going to lead to a baby, right? And I do think people need to understand that.
I think saying insurance policy is a misnomer. I think it's giving you a head start if and should you need IVF. I think egg freezing does get a bad rap, and I see all the headlines, and I can't speak for everyone's counseling, but I know when I speak to patients, I take almost a full hour to talk about human reproduction, the reality of how inefficient it is, and you need to know that in order to level set expectations about egg freezing. When you ovulate one egg every month, if you're someone that gets a regular period, there's about a 15% chance that that could result in a pregnancy. And even if you're in your 20s, it might be about 20%. And that's because not every egg and sperm are going to actually get together and fertilize successfully. Not every fertilized egg turns into an embryo, and not every embryo is genetically normal and capable of implanting. And just because you freeze a larger cohort of eggs, not just one, that inefficiency of human reproduction doesn't go away. So a lot of people just lack that baseline knowledge about what it means to try to get pregnant, and knowing that egg freezing isn't a magical fix for that inefficiency. So you do need to start out with more eggs than you think, because not every egg is going to thaw, fertilize, turn into an embryo, and actually implant. And so counseling about those numbers, which depend on your age and your presumed egg quality and how many eggs you start with, is really important.
Yeah, and Jenny, that leads me to my last question, which is talking about what it costs and making sure women are aware of that, especially if they may have to do multiple rounds. We only have a few moments, but just walk us through what that looks like.
There's more and more companies are offering insurance coverage for egg freezing, which is great, but most still don't. And it'll run you about $10,000 to $15,000, according to our reporting, for one cycle. But something that I don't think everyone realizes is this is also an ongoing expense. You have to pay to store your eggs. The women we spoke to were paying anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a year to store their eggs. And then obviously, as Dr. Sekhon said, if you do thaw them and use them, then you're entering the IVF process, which is also known for its high price tag. So it's something to budget for really over time if you decide to do it.
Plan for it, absolutely. Jenny Biley, Dr. Lucky Sekhon, thank you both so much. Really important conversation. We should keep doing this. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, we're taking a trip down memory lane in a car that for many takes us back to childhood. When we come back, a look at how the station wagon became the family road trip car for Americans. You're watching Morning News Now.
Well, she is already defrosted for the holiday season and started her Christmas tour. Now Mariah Carey has another reason to celebrate. The singer has become a Barbie doll. Today, Mattel released the Mariah Carey Barbie, priced at $75. She's dressed in that iconic red dress based on the one the real Mariah wore in the video for All I Want for Christmas Is You. She has a butterfly ring on one finger, of course, and is holding a microphone. Carey called it a once-in-a-lifetime dream. Mattel, of course, having a great year with sales for Barbies up 16% last quarter, thanks in part to the hit Barbie movie.
Yeah, we cannot stop talking about all forms of Barbie. I love this one. Anything Christmas. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Well, finally at this hour, as millions prepare to hit the road for the Thanksgiving holiday, nothing hits you quite in the feels like some deeply rooted nostalgia, right? Well, for some, that feeling is delivered on four wheels. For generations, the station wagon was more than just the family road trip car, but also a vehicle that drove memories. NBC's Harry Smith got to ride with the American Automotive Trust, who are transporting these cars from the past into the present.
Now's an ideal time to get ready for your next trip.
Once when families did not travel in Tahoes or Tellurides. In that age before minivans and mandatory seatbelts.
Roomy enough to hold as many as 4 children.
The true symbol of middle-class swagger and upward mobility was this.
A new family-engineered station wagon.
A vehicle that could transport suburban families not just to ball fields, carpools, and school plays, but to exotic locations, destinations of their dreams.
New adventures to write about to the folks back home.
Yea, verily, even to Wally World. Had you been out west this past summer, you might have seen a few true classics on the road from Jackson Hole to Detroit.
For us, it's get on the road and you don't know what's going to happen.
An annual odyssey of the American Automotive Trust.
Car museums become irrelevant. Cars are meant to be driven. Keep them on the road.
Every year, the Trust chooses a different model car and a different starting point for the journey, always ending in the Motor City, and as much as possible, staying off the interstate.
We grew up with family road trips. We said the one we have to do is station wagons. And it's a great adventure, and it's full of problems. You know, you break down, all of a sudden, your Caprice just overheated.
Trust Chairman David Madera.
If we hadn't broken down, we wouldn't have met this young woman and learned what she wanted to do.
What brought you into auto mechanics?
I honestly just thought it would be cool. It's probably been the best thing I've ever done.
So the breakdown was wonderful.
Trust members, perhaps the only people who find breakdowns a blessing.
It's still dripping.
Kaylee diagnosed the fuel leak on this car.
Yeah.
And she was so knowledgeable and so cheerful. She did a great job.
If that doesn't fix it, hopefully it slows you down enough to get back to Detroit.
We caught up with the Trust at Devil's Tower, Wyoming. And if memory serves, wasn't it a crazed Richard Dreyfuss in a station wagon racing to meet the aliens here in Close Encounters of the Third Kind? We encountered neither aliens nor Dreyfuss.
You know, don't see this from an airplane seat, you know?
Yeah.
And we've got so many places in America like this that people never experience. They never get behind the wheel and just go.
Riding in one of these cars is like being in a time machine. The memories come flooding back, says Trust member Diane Fleece Schneider.
What a beauty.
Are you ready?
Especially a station wagon.
We could each choose a place to sit. And
Sure.
We argued who would sit in the way back.
If you're sitting in the back row, you can wave at the people behind you.
Oh, yeah, we did.
This.
Oh, yeah, we made all kinds of goofy faces at them.
Yeah.
A joy indeed.
Look at this bad boy.
But the Trust also serves to encourage young people to take a look under the hood, fall in love with the past.
Could you imagine your mom coming to pick you up in this thing?
In Sundance, Wyoming, the high school students were plenty curious and plenty knowledgeable.
We don't have much in there.
Had any of these cars needed work,
No.
they'd have been in capable hands.
I love what we do at America's Automotive Trust because we're encouraging young people to get involved to learn how to repair these old vehicles. So when I'm dead and gone, you know, we carry that on to a next generation.
A blast from the past.
No kidding. My friends had the station wagon where you sat in the back and faced out.
Yeah, facing back. That was always so fun.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I'm on a roller
Probably
coaster.
not safe, but anyway. Thanks to Harry for that. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Stay with us. Good morning and good news. It's Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, the turkey trot begins. This Thanksgiving holiday getaway could be one for the record books. We've got all you need to know whether you're heading out the door today or next week, including that all-important travel forecast. More trouble on Capitol Hill as embattled New York Congressman George Santos announces he will not seek re-election. Comes in the wake of that scathing ethics report released yesterday, but the story goes deeper. Santos could be out of office as soon as today. More on that in a moment. In the Middle East this morning, Israel's military says it has found the body of a hostage held captive by Hamas since last month's assault. Israeli officials say she was in a building near that besieged Al-Shifa hospital in northern Gaza. We're going to bring you the latest as the IDF combs Gaza's medical hubs for Hamas. And later in the hour, we'll bring you our weekly Can't Miss list featuring a look at rapper Andre 3000's first full-length album in nearly 2 decades. Bring back those Outcast
Yes,
from long ago.
Oh, Andre 3000.
Looking forward to that. We begin this morning with the big holiday getaway. Americans already preparing to take to the skies, the roads, and the rails to spend Thanksgiving with family and friends.
Experts say the next week and a half could be a record breaker with millions of travelers flying this Thanksgiving. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello is at Reagan National Airport with a preview.
Yeah, good day from Reagan Airport. So listen, it is starting now. And you think, why now? Why are we doing Thanksgiving already? Because people are now extending their trips. They can work remotely on the front end. They can stay later on the back end. So they're now spreading out the entire trip. We are expecting a lot of people to be flying. It starts today, according to the TSA, as many as 2.5 million people today alone, which means you will have a lot of company if you're flying.
Just a reminder, you're allowed one carry-on bag, one personal item.
6 days till Thanksgiving. It's the start of the travel rush crescendo, with the TSA expecting to screen about 30 million passengers over the next 12 days. That would make it the busiest holiday travel period ever.
Airports are going to be very busy, and preparation is key.
At Chicago O'Hare, some travelers are on a pre-Thanksgiving trip and already thinking about next week's crowds.
We have 2 trips back to back. We're visiting my mom here in Chicago. Then we're flying back to D.C., and then we're driving to Connecticut for Thanksgiving. So
you got a lot of travel.
Yeah, we got a lot of travel.
I'm flying on Monday for Thanksgiving. That's right.
And what are you thinking? Are you worried about the crowds?
Yeah, I am worried. But, you know, you have to be home for Thanksgiving.
The busiest days to fly next Tuesday and Wednesday before the holiday, and Sunday after Thanksgiving, when the TSA says 2.9 million passengers could pass through checkpoints. In Orlando, they're anticipating a 17% increase over last year's travel volume, and say passengers should arrive even earlier than they would for a typical trip.
Remember to follow 321. Passengers should be at the airport ticket counter 3 hours before their flight.
at the checkpoint 2 hours before their flight, and at the gate 1 hour before departure.
From the skyways to the highways, where AAA projects more than 55 million people will drive to their Thanksgiving destinations over 5 days. The worst times to hit the road: late afternoon Wednesday, midday Thanksgiving, and then starting around noon the Friday after. The good news for drivers: gas prices right now are averaging 40 cents cheaper per gallon than this time last year. Even cheaper in the South.
You're below $3 right now. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, importantly, TSA PreCheck now has 17 million people signed up, 4 million more than a year ago. They're still keeping the lines for PreCheck at about 10 minutes or so, 30 minutes if you're not PreCheck. So that's the incentive to sign up for PreCheck and get yourself pre-screened and go through that entire background check in advance. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you so much.
Caleb Silver, editor-in-chief at Investopedia, joins us now with more of what you should know if you're hitting the road for the holidays. So, Caleb, we just heard from Tom, gas prices, they're 40 cents cheaper per gallon than this time last year. Can we expect to see this pattern continue through the rest of the holiday season, keeping in mind most folks who are traveling for the holidays are doing so by car?
Yeah, as Tom mentioned, more than 50 million people hitting the road. Gas prices, the national average, around $3.33 a gallon. Again, 40 cents cheaper than last year. Very big deal because folks, on average, will travel 60-plus miles for that Thanksgiving meal to be with family. So as you're doing that, we do know gas prices are lower. They kind of will remain low through the winter, actually, because we go to this cheaper blend of gas, and there's less demand out there for oil right now. Oil prices down 20% from their highs. So gas prices are going to remain low, and driving is a way a lot of people get around to Thanksgiving, but there's ways to do it to actually save some money, too.
The other question is, when you are going to do a drive, especially if it's maybe a little bit longer, should you be renting a car or should you be using your own, right? And we have some numbers here. A recent survey conducted by Enterprise Mobility, 48% of road trips between this month and January will take place in a personal vehicle. Just 11% plan to take a rental vehicle, and 2% plan to use a ride-share service. Obviously not an option if you're going kind of far. Well, it's Uber
or just want to waste money.
From here to North Carolina or something. So, Caleb, what is the best? I mean, is it cost effective to take your own vehicle or rent a car if people are concerned about putting the miles on their own or anything like that?
Yeah, with gas prices this low, it kind of makes sense to take your own car if you can, or if you have an electric vehicle, even cheaper. And rental car prices are actually down 20% from last year, so there is a better deal. But the demand is going to be the issue here between Wednesday and Sunday. Going to be hard to get a car, and those prices are higher in the major cities. So availability might not be there. If you could take your own car with gas prices this cheap and carpool it or pack the family into it, it's cheaper, it's more fun. Make your mixes, pack your snacks, make it a game, enjoy yourself on the road trip. This is what it's all about.
Now I want to know about Caleb's mix. What's in Caleb's mix?
Hit the road with me this weekend. We'll show you.
Oh, a little mystery.
I booked a rental car for when I go home to Minnesota for Christmas. It's expensive. It's not cheap right now. So Caleb,
wait, you're not driving there though?
No,
you
but when I get there,
just
to even have it for a few days. So what other money-saving tips should people consider for their holiday road trips?
Yeah, as you're hitting that road, have the plan, make the budget, see if you can beat the budget. I'm one of those people that drives my kids crazy trying to avoid the tolls. I like to pack the snacks ahead of time. Even if you pack the snacks, so you find yourself getting hungry within like 15 minutes of leaving the house. So have that snack cooler packed really well. Have the drinks packed really well. You're going to make stops. People can't resist themselves a soft ice cream inside a rest stop sometimes, but try to do it on a budget. Try to avoid the tolls if you can, and avoid those busy times Tom was talking about. Wednesday morning, a very busy time to drive. Sunday, also very busy. If you can avoid peaks, avoid tolls and congestion, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be a lot more fun.
I got to say, I think the toll road fee's worth it. When you do that without tolls and it goes up by 45 minutes, I would also be freaking out like your children in the car. Thanks,
unless he has a good mix. There you go. All right, Caleb Silver, thank you so much.
Won't share with us. All right, now let's get a look at your morning news now weather.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now with more on what to expect this weekend and her holiday mix, right, Michelle?
Oh gosh, it's a mix. You know, I have to roll up my window sometimes when I realize what's blaring out of my radio. Do you ever do that? Where you're like, no one can hear this.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'll send you, right? Yes. So embarrassing. Anyway, weather-wise, we're looking a little dicey in some spots as we go throughout the next couple of days, especially Monday and Tuesday. I know that's a big travel day, but as Tom mentioned, it's getting underway now. We're looking at some problems today. We're looking at some soggy spots because we're looking at a cold front moving through portions of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. That's bringing some rain, and it's bringing some heavy rain in spots, and it's stretching all the way down to the Tennessee Valley. So places along the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, the interior parts of the Northeast, New England, into the lower Mississippi Valley. We'll see some windy conditions and also some rainy conditions. That's going to slow you down on the roadways. Also in the air, rain developing in the west. That's a big powerful system that's moving onshore. We had an atmospheric river event set up all week this week, and we're seeing that once again today. So we're going to see some soggy conditions along the coast of California and then eventually into the Pacific Northwest tomorrow. Also could see some mountain snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains tomorrow. We'll talk more about that. In between today, we're sunny, we're mild in the south central states. We're free and clear in the northern plains and central plains into portions of the upper Midwest. But in terms of travel in the air, we're looking at some possible delays in Indianapolis. We're looking at likely delays in San Francisco. That's due to wind and also some low visibility. Detroit and Nashville could see some likely delays as well because of that cold front moving through, and that's going to bring some really windy conditions. So as we near Saturday, we're looking quiet in most of the country, much cooler in the Great Lakes, bright sunshine throughout the south, the southeast, into the mid-Atlantic. But notice all that green, yellow, red in the west. We're looking at that powerful system really overspreading the west. So we're looking at rain and wind extending up to the Pacific Northwest, and that mountain snow in the Rockies, also parts of the Intermountain West. And that's going to delay some travel there. Sunday, we are looking at that mountain snow overtaking the Intermountain West into the Rockies. That's going to slow you down there. And then, unfortunately, also looking at strong storms in the central and southern plains. That's that warm air and cold air kind of clashing. But we're looking good along the East Coast. It's going to be chilly in some spots along the East Coast, but we're looking at some sunshine. So that's good news if you're traveling on Sunday along the East Coast. The West on Sunday, rain and gusty winds, and that's because we're looking at the chance for likely conditions in Salt Lake City, also Las Vegas, possible delays in Seattle, also Portland. Kansas City, I think you're going to see some possible delays as well. In Dallas, Fort Worth, that's where we're expecting some pretty gusty storms and on Sunday, and that's where we could see some likely delays as well. So let's track next week's system, because what's happening is we have that powerful system moving into California that's going to trek across the country. So this becomes our next cross-country storm, and that's what will impact us Monday into Tuesday. This is Sunday into Monday. That storm system really strengthening over the plains. It's going to bring that severe weather on Sunday into the southern plains. And we're looking at the Gulf Coast, too, looking at some storms. Then we near Tuesday, heavy rain spreading into the east, strong winds developing for the Midwest and Northeast. So this is kind of a terrible day on Tuesday, from the Great Lakes to New England, the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, all the way down to the Southeast. We're looking at spots of heavy rain where you see those brighter colors, looking at some mixture of rain and snow in parts of the interior Northeast, also New England. And that's going to linger as we go throughout Tuesday, and could see some higher elevation snow as well. Wednesday, the good news is we clear out most of that, but we have some leftover Great Lakes snow where you see the blue. Also some precipitation falling in Maine where you see the blue. That's going to be your snow. The pink is your mixed precipitation, and then some heavy rain in northern Maine, and that's going to bring some really gusty winds as well. Let's steer it towards Thanksgiving, because we're looking relatively quiet. Now in New York City, I do think we're going to have some breezy conditions, but we're going to continue to watch that for you. It's going to be cold in the Intermountain West, cold enough to set the stage for some snow. Sunny and cool in portions of the southern plains, the southeast, but temperatures not bad. 60s in Dallas, 59 in Houston. I think that feels pretty good for Thanksgiving, although cool for that area. Temperatures in the 70s in Florida, and we're looking at temperatures in the 40s along the mid-Atlantic coast, also the Northeast. Right now, we're looking at rain falling in the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley. You see those bright colors, the reds, the oranges, the yellows in the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes. That's where some heavy rain is falling. That's where we could add up some totals there. Some lingering rainfall throughout the northern parts of Florida into parts of the eastern peninsula of Florida. And that's going to be moving off, guys, as we go throughout the day, because that cold front that's in the Ohio Valley is going to push it out of here, and that's good news for people in Florida. Otherwise, we're looking at that powerful storm in California. Back to you both.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much.
In Washington, a scathing report by the House Ethics Committee could signal the beginning of the end for New York Congressman George Santos. The report found the first-term Republican spent campaign funds on personal expenses and luxury goods, likely breaking federal laws. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Hake joins us now. And Garrett, the impact of this report has been swift, right?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Not long after this jaw-dropping report was released on Thursday, Santos announced that he would no longer seek re-election and would, in fact, leave Congress after this term. But he may be leaving much sooner than that, as the chairman of the Ethics Committee is expected to file a motion to remove him from Congress as soon as this morning. That would mean something that hasn't happened in decades, a removal of a sitting congressman.
This process.
Even for a congressman dogged by scandal since his first days in office, the salacious details of the new Ethics Committee report on New York Republican George Santos are stunning. The bipartisan committee report concluding Santos, quote, blatantly stole from his campaign, spending campaign donations lavishly on everything from his rent and credit card bills to thousands of dollars in purchases at luxury retailers Ferragamo and Hermes, even Botox and spa treatments in Las Vegas. Some of Santos' fellow Republicans had already moved for his expulsion.
My voters and I are quite aware of the fraud that he perpetuated. I don't need an ethics report to tell me what I already know.
He's a fraud. He shouldn't be a member of Congress. I called for his resignation.
But the sordid details of the report, including campaign cash spent on the website OnlyFans, known for its adult content, and withdrawn from casino ATMs, led members of both parties who had voted against an earlier expulsion effort to announce they now supported Santos' removal.
I'm hoping that George does the right thing and resigns and leaves Congress. The Thanksgiving break is a great time to do that, clean out his office.
I think the bottom line is the level of misconduct here, criminal conduct, is off the charts.
The committee voting unanimously to refer its findings to the Department of Justice. Santos is already facing federal charges for wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of public funds, to which he has pleaded not guilty. On Thursday, the embattled congressman posting on social media that the report was a, quote, politicized smear, but that he would no longer seek re-election and would stay in Congress, quote, up until I am allowed.
Now, we won't see any kind of vote on Santos' removal until after Thanksgiving. Losing his vote in Congress would shrink the GOP's margin of control even further. But in a statement released Thursday, new Speaker Mike Johnson called the report's findings, quote, very troubling, and seemed to suggest he would not try to protect the troublesome freshman Republican. Joe?
All right, Garrett, thank you so much.
Well, turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the ongoing military operations against a hospital in Gaza. This morning, Israeli forces say they've located a Hamas tunnel inside Al-Shifa Hospital, along with additional weapons. NBC News has not independently verified that claim. This comes as Israeli officials say 2 bodies of hostages have been recovered nearby the facility. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now from Tel Aviv with all these latest updates. Hey, Keir, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. And the focus is on multiple hospitals, tension and fighting this morning, both in Gaza and in the West Bank. In Gaza, the Israelis say that they have found evidence of Hamas at 4 hospitals. In the West Bank, the Palestinians say ambulances were stopped outside a hospital. The Palestinian Red Crescent says its crews were detained. This morning, medical staff emerging from Ibn Sina Hospital in the West Bank, their hands raised. Israel saying gunmen may have run there to hide after what Israel says is a counter-terror operation where at least 5 were killed, and Palestinian officials say 47 arrested in the West Bank today. While inside Gaza, operations continue in Al-Shifa Hospital, where Israeli Defense Forces have been for days and now say they have found the bodies of 2 hostages close by. 19-year-old Israeli soldier Noah Marciano and 65-year-old hostage Yehudit Weiss, who had been suffering from cancer. We believed we would welcome her back, her daughter cries. The Israeli Defense Force says these images it filmed show the entrance to a tunnel in the hospital complex. NBC News has not visited the hospital to see for ourselves. The images showing some guns, grenades and computers Israel says were inside.
Is it fair to say that you found something there, but not everything you said you'd find?
No, we're just scratching the surface. Now, I think we need to be a bit patient, and we are 100% certain that this is a base of operations.
The Secretary of State telling Lester Holt last night.
Exactly why there should be assault rifles located next to an MRI machine escapes me. And this is compelling evidence of the fact that Hamas embeds itself in civilian infrastructure of one kind or another.
Multiple hospitals in Gaza are under siege, lacking fuel and medical supplies, health officials say. These were scenes posted online of the Indonesian hospital in Gaza. Wounded Palestinians lying on the floor. Israel says Hamas was here and at Al-Quds hospital, denied by Hamas. The Palestinian Red Crescent releasing images it says shows patients wheeled south on hospital beds amid destruction. But the Israeli military warns it will soon head south too, where already more hospitals are overwhelmed. Our team this morning filming more chaos and bloodshed. And the World Health Organization this morning saying that civilians in Gaza are at risk of starvation, saying, quote, food and water are practically non-existent there. Of course, Israel would say that it is Hamas that puts civilians in harm's way and that it has allowed in humanitarian aid.
All right, Kirsten Mintz, thank you very much.
Here in the U.S., social media sites like TikTok and X are racing to remove the hashtag Letter to America from their platforms. That's because videos about Osama bin Laden's open letter following the 9/11 terrorist attack have now gone viral in the wake of the war between Israel and Hamas. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson has the details.
The video's viral this morning.
I need you to stop what you're doing and go read A Letter to America.
Referencing Osama bin Laden's so-called Letter to America, written by the late terrorist leader about a year after the 9/11 attacks. And now, the propaganda getting new attention on social media in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war. Bin Laden, in the decades-old letter criticizing U.S. support for Israel and its policies on Palestinian territories and citing anti-Semitic and homophobic tropes.
The way this letter is going viral right now is giving me the greatest sense of relief.
The Guardian, which published the letter in 2002, now removing it, criticizing how it's been widely shared without the full context. And TikTok now stripping the hashtag Letter to America from its search function. New research shows searches for bin Laden up 400% on YouTube, and on X, formerly Twitter, references to him up 4,000% since Tuesday. One journalist's post on that platform, compiling some of the videos, getting more than 25 million views. TikTok saying interest spiked only after tweets and media attention, from fewer than 2 million views to more than 13 million on its app. A spokesperson telling NBC News content promoting this letter clearly violates our rules on supporting any form of terrorism, adding they're proactively and aggressively removing it. YouTube saying our community guidelines apply consistently, guidelines which prohibit terrorist content. X did not respond to our request for comment. The issue reaching even the White House, with the spokesperson saying there is never a justification for spreading the repugnant, evil, and anti-Semitic lies that the leader of al-Qaeda issued just after committing the worst terrorist attack in American history. It all comes as demonstrations, pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian, stretch coast to coast.
Our thanks to Hallie Jackson for that report. The New York Times is reporting that the bin Laden letter came up during a private meeting Wednesday night where Jewish celebrities and content creators asked TikTok to do more to fight anti-Semitism on the app. NBC News has not verified that reporting.
Well, we've got much more to cover on this Friday edition of Morning News Now, including a brand new twist in the legal saga of Alec Murdaugh, why the judge who presided over his highly publicized trial is now stepping down from any further hearings.
But first, stunning new allegations against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs coming from his former partner, R&B singer Cassie. We're going to bring you her side of the couple's highly publicized relationship and how Combs is responding. That's next.
Welcome back. This morning, rapper and producer Sean Combs is facing a bombshell lawsuit from his former partner, R&B singer Cassie. She is suing Combs, alleging their 10-year relationship was filled with abuse and violence. Combs vehemently denies the allegations. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has the details.
That's right. Cassie says she's finally ready to tell her story after living in what she calls years of silence and darkness. The rapper denying all wrongdoing, his team calling the allegations outrageous.
This morning, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing a slew of allegations, including rape and sex trafficking, in a stunning new civil lawsuit filed Thursday by his longtime partner, singer Cassie. According to the complaint, Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, alleges Combs asserted complete control over her personal and professional life. Throughout their relationship, Ventura says that she endured a cycle of abuse and violence for more than a decade. The lawsuit even detailing Combs thanking Ventura during a Lifetime Achievement Award speech on BET last year.
Cassie, for holding me down in the dark times. Love.
She's also accusing the rapper of forcing her into unwanted sexual encounters with male sex workers through the use of illegal substances and threats of violence, saying Combs allegedly recorded the sex acts to reinforce her inability to escape. The complaint going on to accuse Combs of uncontrollable rage, alleging that he often punched, beat, kicked, and stomped on her, then allegedly used his money to hide evidence of abuse, including putting Ventura up in a hotel for days to heal. Ventura also accusing Combs of rape, saying as their relationship was nearing the end, he forced himself into her apartment in 2018. The acclaimed music producer vehemently denying the allegations, his attorney calling them offensive and outrageous, writing in part, "For the past 6 months, Mr. Combs has been subjected to Ms. Ventura's persistent demand of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail."
In a statement, Cassie's attorneys say that Combs offered their client 8 figures to silence her and prevent the filing of the lawsuit, adding that their client should be applauded for her bravery. NBC News has reached out to Combs' attorney, who responded she should not be applauded, period. Back to you.
All right, Chloe, thank you.
Now to a new development in the ongoing legal saga of Alec Murdaugh. The former South Carolina attorney is now serving a life sentence for murdering his wife and son. Now the judge who played a critical role in that case is stepping aside. Today, anchor Craig Melvin has the details.
Another twist this morning in Alec Murdaugh's ongoing legal battle. Murdaugh was convicted in March of the brutal double murders of his son Paul and wife Maggie. On Thursday, after a motion filed by Murdaugh's defense team requesting the Honorable Clifton Newman be recused from presiding over any further proceedings, the 72-year-old judge, who was already set to retire at the end of the year, officially stepped aside, asking that a new judge be assigned to handle the post-trial motions involving the murder charges. Murdaugh's legal team has been asking for a new judge and a new trial, suggesting in their motion that Judge Newman could be a potential witness to allegations of jury tampering leveled against Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill, and that the judge professed his views on the case in a post-verdict interview he did with us.
Do you think that he'll be haunted by his wife and son?
No, I think so. I cannot imagine him having a peaceful night knowing what he did. I'm sure if he had an opportunity to do it over again, he'd never do it.
After the verdict, the judge publicly expressed his opinion that the defendant was guilty. So the defense argument is that that same judge can't now preside over the issue of whether the defendant got a fair trial.
The recusal is a victory for the defense, but they still have a steep hill to climb. Murdaugh was sentenced to consecutive life terms in prison.
Within your own soul, you have to deal with that.
The state has aggressively swatted down the claims of jury tampering, saying in part, never does the law permit highly motivated convicts to put their own jury on trial. Tonight, in a Dateline special, South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson says the state is prepared to fight the appeal. They are alleging, among other things, jury tampering.
Well, look, defense attorneys are going to do everything that they can to represent their client. I don't begrudge them. Obviously, we're going to defend the trial. We're going to defend our work product.
Our thanks to Craig Melvin for that story. All of this is happening as pre-trial hearings are getting underway to address state charges related to Murdaugh's alleged financial crimes. Despite a separate motion asking Judge Newman to recuse himself from this trial as well, he is still set to preside over that one.
Let's get to international headlines now. Sudan is asking the UN to end its years-long political mission in the country.
NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga has the latest on that and other news from around the world. Claudio, good morning.
Joe Savannah, good morning. Yeah, all this came out of a letter penned by Sudan's acting Foreign Minister Ali Sadek. Now, they requested that the UN, quote, immediately terminate the United Nations Integrated Transition Assistance Mission in Sudan. It's a program that was established back in 2020 to provide governmental support to Sudan during its political transition to democratic rule. But this letter calls the performance of the mission disappointing. Right now, Sudan is in the middle of a months-long civil war with violent fighting currently happening out of Darfur. Now let's travel over to Iceland, where ongoing tremors are rocking the Nordic island. Residents are evacuating as fears rise over a looming volcanic eruption. The ground has actually moved several feet in a town called Grindavik, which has been completely evacuated. Southwest Iceland has been bracing for days as cracks continue to appear. The Icelandic Meteorological Office warns that there is a significant risk of an eruption in the days ahead. And we end this tour of the world in Spain, where Shakira melted hearts at the Latin Grammy Awards while performing Acróstico, featuring her two sons, Milan and Sasha. In the middle of her song, the camera played pre-recorded footage of her young son singing. It was an emotional surprise for the audience. Other big names like Bad Bunny, Karol G, and Grupo Frontero were all at this year's awards. And this is the first time the Latin Grammy Awards is taking place outside of the United States in 24 years. Joe Samana.
So cool. They got a little bit of the spotlight, too. Awesome. Claudio, thank you so much.
Coming up, a high-profile suspension agreement that is rocking the world of college football.
After the break, an investigation into alleged sign stealing that's left one Michigan coach sidelined for now. That's next on Morning News Now.
The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected a request from Florida to enforce a state law that targets drag show performances. That law was signed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis this year, but district courts have blocked it from being enforced. The measure makes it illegal to allow a child into a, quote, adult live performance if the state sees as sexually explicit. Opponents of the law say it imposes unlawful restrictions on free speech. In Texas, a school district has reversed a high school's restrictions on its production of the play Oklahoma. Those restrictions caused a transgender teen to lose his role in the show. In a unanimous decision on Monday, the Sherman Independent School District board members voted to reinstate the original cast and script chosen for the production after more than 60 people spoke out in support of the student.
After the meeting, they released a statement apologizing, saying, quote, we understand that our decision does not erase the impact this had on our community, but we hope that we will reinforce to everyone, particularly our students, that we do embrace all of our board goals to include addressing the diverse needs of our students.
Joining us now is Philip Hightower. He is the father of Max Hightower, the student who was initially removed from the play. Philip, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Just how are you and Max feeling now that he has been reinstated and the show can go on?
Well, we're feeling good. Max, luckily, is at a theater retreat festival for the past couple of days. So Max hasn't had to deal with a lot of this, thank God.
And I understand, as we mentioned just a moment ago, Philip, that like the community really rallied behind this issue with members speaking up at the school board meeting in support of Max. What has that backing meant to you and your family, and of course to Max?
It's been amazing, especially for Max. Initially, Max is a fighter, and Max wanted us to fight. But Max was also, wanting to kind of let us do the fighting at first. But after the outpouring of support that we got, Max was like, no, Dad, let's go do this, And Max went to the board meeting, where, he was the center of attention, and he was cool with it.
So Max has been reinstated. I understand that was goal number one, but you still have a couple more things that you would like to achieve. What do you hope comes next?
Well, first and foremost, we need a policy that protects these kids. All of this started from a policy that didn't exist, a fake policy. But we need a real policy that, protects these kids and gives them the right to, be in the role that is the gender they identify with.
This, I think,
beyond that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Beyond that, we need accountability. We need accountability because for 10 days, these kids, marginalized, at-risk kids that are more prone to hurt themselves or have, really dark thoughts, were left hanging in the wind. And so we need accountability for that.
So often this is an educational process for parents in your community who may not know much about trans kids and the trans community. Do you feel a lot of people, whether it's school board members and other parents, have learned a lot from you during this process?
I hope so. There were a lot of people speaking, and there's been a lot of attention. So if they haven't learned it, it isn't for lack of information.
All right. Philip Hightower, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. We're thinking of Max, whose passion for theater is very clear right now at a theater.
Yeah, there you go.
Theater camp.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, the University of Michigan announced an agreement with the Big Ten Conference on Thursday to drop litigation against the conference and to suspend football coach Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh will continue to serve out a 3-game suspension that came as the result of a sign-stealing investigation into the Wolverines football program. In a written statement, Michigan said, quote, Coach Harbaugh, with the university's support, decided to accept this sanction to return the focus to our student athletes and their performance on the field. Joining us now for more on this story is senior writer at The Athletic, Chris Vannini. Chris, good to have you with us. So there is so far no information that directly links Coach Harbaugh to involvement in the alleged sign stealing, but for both sides to pretty much walk away from the dispute does raise some eyebrows. So tell us why this is significant and what we know about this legal battle.
Well, it's significant because just about right now, the sides would have been in court arguing over whether or not the Big Ten had the right to suspend Jim Harbaugh. Michigan's entire case specific to the Big Ten was that the conference doesn't have the right to do this. Only the NCAA has to do this. The conference said it did. It laid down its suspension last week, right as Michigan was landing its plane in State College, Pennsylvania. Michigan says, eventually, we're going to drop the litigation. Harbaugh's going to accept the suspension. The Big Ten will step back and let the NCAA finish off its investigation.
Is there any sense that Michigan may have developed evidence that other schools might have been doing the same thing?
Michigan presented information that other schools had shared signs with each other to use against Michigan, which is not unprecedented, not that unusual. Michigan is mostly in trouble because of a staffer alleged to have bought tickets to games and had people film it on a phone. That is clearly against NCAA rules. In-person scouting is the big part of this. Sign stealing is not exactly against the rules. You can do that off the TV. It's more about what they did or what this one person did in person.
So the university still says it's going to continue to cooperate fully with the sign stealing investigation. Talk more about that, where we are in that process.
That remains ongoing. The NCAA is looking into Connor Stalions, the staffer who did that. Stalions has resigned. He has said no other coaches knew about this whole scheme. Central Michigan University is involved as well because there was a person on the sideline for their game against Michigan State that kind of looked like Connor Stalions. They have not clarified who that is, so the NCAA is still looking into it. It'll take a while before that is resolved, certainly after the season.
What does this mean for Michigan football for the rest of the season?
Well, it means they will not have Jim Harbaugh for the next 2 games against Maryland and then the big one against Ohio State. Ultimately, Michigan is used to this. Harbaugh had a self-imposed suspension for the first 3 games this season for an unrelated recruiting violations allegation. So they'll continue. Sharon Moore, the offense coordinator, will be the head coach for the next 2 games. If Michigan wins those 2 games, they'll play in the Big Ten championship, and Jim Harbaugh will be back to coaching it.
Chris Vannini, again from The Athletic, thank you very much for joining us on this. Coming up, counterfeit chaos right here in New York City.
The massive billion-dollar fake merchandise bust that could be one of the biggest in U.S. history. Stick around. It's being called the biggest counterfeit merchandise bust ever in the U.S. Hundreds of thousands of fake bags, clothes, and shoes were seized from an alleged black market operation in Manhattan. And experts say this is still just a small piece of the knockoff product problem. NBC's Stephen Romo has the details.
Staggering images of a billion-dollar bust, one that federal authorities are calling the largest seizure of counterfeit goods in U.S. history. Inside multiple storage units raided by Homeland Security and the NYPD, cluttered shelves packed with nearly 220,000 knockoff purses, clothes, and accessories.
It hurts people, and it's not innocent.
The fake bags, rip-offs of high-end brands including Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Gucci, and Marc Jacobs. This bag, a knockoff of a Christian Dior tote bag, sells for more than $3,000. NYPD's Commissioner Edward Caban saying in a press release, quote, the trafficking of counterfeit goods is anything but a victimless crime because it harms legitimate businesses, governments, and consumers.
It's a dangerous business. There's some dangerous people involved in it. And to go down there and buy these goods, it's not victimless. You can become a victim.
Two people, 38-year-old Adama Sow and 48-year-old Abdullah Jalla, are accused of running the black market business out of this storage facility this year from January to October. The unsealed indictments show they're each charged with trafficking in counterfeit goods, which can carry up to 10 years in prison. An attorney for Sow declined to comment. NBC News has not yet heard back from Jalla's attorney. Counterfeiting experts say they hope consumers think twice before buying any knockoff merchandise because they can't be sure where the money is going or how the products are being produced.
You hope that they would think twice of where that money's going. And also, forced child labor. Some of these goods are made in the most squalid conditions. I've been there in China, and they're made in these squalid conditions with sometimes little children working there. They're working 16, 18 hours a day.
Our thanks to Stephen Romo for that report.
More financial headlines. Here's a question for you. What do AI and climate change have in common? Well, Google CEO seems to have an answer.
CNBC's Silvana Henao has the latest on that and other money news. Silvana, good morning.
Good Friday morning, Joe and Savannah. Yes, so Google CEO says artificial intelligence is like climate change in that it will spread worldwide, and people share responsibility to create rules and regulations. Speaking at the APEC summit in San Francisco, Sundar Pichai says if AI goes wrong in one country, it could impact others, making it difficult to regulate locally. Now, he's seeing some signs of progress, including this week's agreement between President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping, who vowed to start a dialogue on AI. Google's next generation AI model is being delayed. The Information reports the launch of Gemini is being pushed from this month to the first quarter of next year. Gemini is being touted as a direct competitor to OpenAI's GPT-4. Google co-founder Sergey Brin has reportedly been spending several days a week with Gemini's developers. And the Kelce brothers are killing it on the football field, podcasting, and now the music world. Travis and Jason have scored a #1 hit on iTunes with their Christmas duet, Fairy Tale of Philadelphia. It's a cover of the classic by the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York with a few changed lyrics. Proceeds from the song and the album recorded by Jason Kelce and his fellow Eagles teammates, a Philly Special Christmas, will go towards the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, guys.
Oh, wow. Can't wait to hear him. Silvana, thank you so much.
You got it.
Coming up, it is Friday, finally, so that, of course, means your weekly can't-miss list just around the corner.
That's right. This morning, we've got a preview of Andre 3000's first full-length album in 17 years. Our wonderful friend Darren Karp is here with us on set. Yeah, Darren's here to break down the latest and greatest in music, movies, and streaming next.
Let's high kick our way into the holidays now. The iconic Rockettes are... And I have to go to the hospital now. Are back for this year's Radio City Christmas Spectacular show.
Dang, that was funny.
Going into its 90th season.
Jackie Beckford from our NBC station here in New York takes us behind the curtain.
The countdown has begun to kicking off the holiday season.
Really excited to bring the holiday spirit to New York this season.
Hard to believe, but one of New York City's most beloved holiday traditions
The Radio City Rockettes
is almost here.
It's just a beautiful, iconic, magical show.
The Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular.
Come on, we're going for a sleigh ride. Christmas time is here again.
Promising to be even more, well, spectacular. And the Rockettes kicking it up a notch this year, all the way up. This year's show incorporating drones that will fly overhead. Director and choreographer Julie Branham says the addition is illuminating.
And they have wings on their backs. It's going to look amazing. We light up the whole ceiling, so they were flying around over your heads in the audiences.
The drones will accompany Rockettes in the Dance of the Frost Fairies.
We rehearsed for 6 hours a day, 6 days a week.
For a full 6 weeks leading up to Friday's debut.
We bring all of that together for this incredible immersive number, and it's really exciting.
A show expected to take audiences to new heights.
All right, Chucky Beckford, thanks so much. The show opens today and runs, of course, through January 1st.
Finally, it is Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list.
From a Hunger Games prequel to a new spin on a classic Santa Claus story, there's a lot you really can't miss this week.
That's right. Lucky for us, Darren Karp is here. She's, of course, a Bravo personality and host of Shaken and Disturbed. She's going to break it all down for us. Hi, Darren. Happy Friday. Happy holidays.
I wore my Taylor Swift friendship bracelet for you today.
What does it say?
It's just a group chat I'm on. I made it at BravoCon. Don't worry about it.
We'll get that story later.
That's a later thing.
All right, tell us what's coming to theaters that we can't miss.
Okay, so we've got Hunger Games, Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. Are you a Hunger Games fan?
Yes,
Joe?
huge. Okay, and I read this book.
Okay, so this actually takes place decades, about 64 years before the original Hunger Games, when Katniss Everdeen actually volunteered as tribute. So this takes place with a young Coriolanus before he becomes the tyrannical president of
wow,
this,
look at you, first name basis.
Do you like, I mean, you
said it just we're not going for President Snow.
Excuse me, Mr. Snow. He's young. He's trying to help his failing family lineage, and he gets kind of tapped into being this mentor to this young tribute from Poor District 12, who's played by Rachel Zegler. And he's kind of battling between good and evil. He kind of comes under her auspices and charm. And the real question is he going to be a songbird or a snake, Savannah? We don't know. Joe's more of a songbird.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I kind of know because I read the book.
Yeah. All these villain origin stories are just like a thing now, aren't they?
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's other stuff in theaters, right?
Yes, there is other stuff in theaters. We've got a lot. We've got, Joe, this is right up your alley. We've got Trolls Band Together, okay? This seems like a Joe Fryer pick if I've ever picked one. I picked it this morning, and I was like, this one's for Joe.
I mean, I like their hair.
It's really cute, actually. It's a really, really funny. They had amazing promos for this of, like, behind the music, and they were talking about this music. They were talking about this movie, so it's got good music in it. But basically, they've got Poppy, and then they've got Branch, and they are a couple now. Hashtag Broppy. And we discover that Branch has kind of a sordid past, okay? He used to be in a boy band called Brozone. Savannah, you're going to have to get through this segment without laughing. I'm looking at Joe here.
Will this get an origin story?
This is yes, because, okay, Branch had siblings. They were in a boy band. He hasn't spoken to his siblings since. So hashtag Broppy goes on the lookout for the brothers after one of them gets kidnapped by this evil, tyrannical, like, music cult. And they try and find Floyd, and they try and rescue him, and it's a journey as tale as old as time.
Can I just say the real reason that I'm laughing so hard is because the last time you were here, you said a title of one of the new Taylor Swift songs that's a little interesting.
Yes.
And we got it out of Joe. And right now when you go, we have one for you, Joe, Trolls. He goes, oh.
I like really breaking Joe's. It's my goal here. It's a can't miss. It's a can't miss.
Joe's favorite.
All right, let's talk about if you're staying in because you're doing all the Thanksgiving preps this weekend and you can't possibly go out. Of course, The Crown, that has dropped, getting some controversy. And then there's also something funny, too, right?
Yes, I mean, so The Crown dropped the first 4 episodes, and this is the final season of it. It kind of covers the years between 1997 and 2005, and the first 4 really center on the lead up to Princess Diana's death and of course, the Queen kind of disappearing after her death in the public eye. So quite a bit of controversy there. I think the public have kind of been waiting to see how Netflix was really going to handle this. And then the final 6 episodes kind of handle everything later, and that drops in December 14th, in mid-December. That can cover, the Golden Jubilee, the marriage of Camilla Parker Bowles with Prince Charles, and of course the budding romance between Prince William and Kate Middleton. So this is kind of when I started paying attention to the royal family.
Exactly.
Right. When
the last episode of The Crown.
The last episode that we all wanted to see. The pop culture moment, of course.
Don't you wish they would go on to all the next drama after that?
I think they could keep it up in perpetuity, but I don't even know how they kind of pull it off with the living royal family. It's
and them just being so anti.
Yeah, it is kind of anti. And then the flip side of that is actually something I wanted to talk about. It's an 11-minute documentary on Netflix called The Dads. It's super heartwarming. It's super touching. It takes place with 5 fathers who are all fathers of trans children, and they meet with Daniel Shepard, who is the father, Dennis Shepard, who's the father of the slain college student Matthew Shepard, who got killed in the late 90s. This is one of the first kind of notorious hate crimes that we really heard about, at least in the late 90s. And they all get together to go on a fishing trip in rural Oklahoma and talk about, their geographical differences, the socioeconomic differences, their racial divide, but they all come together to talk about the love of their children. And truthfully, it's one of the sweetest kind of 11 minutes you can get into.
Oh, wow. We literally just moments ago had the father of a trans child on talking about an issue in Texas. So
11 minutes
powerful.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, like really pack a punch.
Oh, yeah, you can pack it in.
Yeah.
It's a powerful punch. It's definitely good. I highly
Finally, we have a
recommend.
little over a minute left here. We want to talk about a
Your
Santa
group chat.
Claus story, new take on it with Ludacris.
Yeah. Okay, Joe is interested in this. This is dashing through the snow. We've got Ludacris, who's kind of over Christmas. He's over the holidays. And at the suggestion of his separated wife, he takes his daughter out on Christmas Eve and meets Nick, played by Lil Rel, as you can see there. And his attitude starts to change in humor about the idea of Christmas. And it's kind of this magical holiday story. It's really funny for the whole family. And I love seeing Ludacris kind of out of his normal environment and element,
I feel like we haven't seen him for a minute either, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really cute and good for the whole family.
One actually last quick one. Andre 3000.
Yes. Just dropped an 87-minute entirely flute instrumental album called New Blue Sun. Wow. It's got Mayan flutes. It's got this. He's got cheeky titles in it. Like one of them is about I wanted to do a rap album, but this is where the wind took me. So it's a little cheeky in the fact that
there's no vocals?
No vocals at all. There's no rapping at all. It is literally just flute instrumental, channeling Lizzo here. Andre 3000, you can't miss it, guys.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Joe.
not what I expected.
Joe.
So.
Oh my God.
Me either.
Yes. Oh, we got we got an O.
There we go. This is our new thing with you. We need an O calculator next time.
My suggestions next time are going to be riveting, I can tell you that.
Darren Garp, thank you. We love you. Good to have you here.
Good
Happy
to have you
Thanksgiving,
here.
guys.
All right. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.